Hello again, I am Spellweaver, bringing another update on Alchemist, my roguelike RPG about potions and crafting. I have added a lot of exciting features this month, and now I can finally say that game's core gameplay is starting to take form. Let us start with a new area. Now we have several new plants to liven up the place: spearmint, foxglove, and several variants of tall grass. The former two are sources of alchemical components, with spearmint giving you something boreal because it tastes cold, and foxglove giving you something fey because of related folklore, while the latter is mostly a decoration, but also a flammable surface. Fire will only spread through grass, and the trees around only get scorched, so while it's somewhat dangerous, it's unlikely to burn the whole forest. Forest area itself is generated procedurally, using simplex noise, with high values associated with trees, low values with grass, and medium with tall grass and herbs. Afterwards, a man-made trail is created, for now leading to an unremarkable random place, but potentially to quest goal, treasure, or just another exit. You are not alone in this forest. Mice wander looking for food, and snakes slither between the trees lazily. Those are AI-controlled creatures that differ both in characteristics and in behavior. There are also bats in the dungeon, we'll see them later. Mice are harmless and adorable. They try to avoid you if possible and run away when you hit them. You can of course chase and kill it, I'm no moral judge after all. The reward would be a small bone that you can grind into something dead for your potions, not that it's worth much. Vipers on the other hand are deadly but not aggressive. They will bite you if you approach or attack them, but they won't actively chase you unless provoked. And if you decide to fight them, you will immediately get poisoned. Poison stacks, and by the time you kill the snake, you will have so much poison in your system that you won't survive. In my game, you are not meant to fight hand to hand. You are a scientist, not a warrior. Your intelligence is your weapon, not your fists. You can, of course, defeat a viper, either by throwing potions or by counteracting its poison. Analgesic infusion, antidote, or an antitoxin serum can save your life, but those all cost resources, and that's if you even have them. Otherwise, on your visit into the forest, it would be better to avoid snakes so that you can gather materials and not get poisoned. Speaking of gathering, now the game has a measure convenience feature, new UI to highlight all items that you can see. This greatly helps to distinguish objects that have something of worth from those that don't, not to mention tracking those you already looted so that you don't have to remember. I personally found myself using it a lot, especially in this forest area, where every tree can potentially have something valuable. Now, after gathering all of this, I can make myself an antidote and an analgesic, just in case. And sure enough, the snake has no chance against me this way. I drink an antidote to cure the poisoning and keep going. Brewing an antitoxin serum is much more costly, but it's enough to survive several encounters with snakes without any harm. It gives a poison immunity status for 60 turns, and it's also the first potion that uses other potions as its ingredients. Creatures are, of course, affected by all the same things as you. Rime potion would freeze them. Shockwave potion stuns them for a few turns. Fire burns them. In fact, starting a forest fire is not only a good way to get yourself a hefty amount of lumber oxide, but also a way to clear out the area with minimal cost. On the other hand, a lot of resources would be inevitably lost to fire as well. Snakes even attack mice when they come too close, which leads to mouse running away and still dying from poisoning. I was glad to see some emergent behavior, if simple one, arise from very basic set of rules for creatures. Thankfully, most of the features initially created for player work just as well for NPCs, so I didn't have to re-implement movement, attacks or any other actual interactions with the world, only tweak them a little and teach AI to perform them. Among the other ways you can interact with creatures, throwing a rift potion into one of them causes you to swap places. This is of course an explicitly coded interaction, though it's more for fun than for anything practical. I gathered a lot of things here in the forest, among them the necessary components to make torches, something to burn and something volatile. Torches used to have no purpose, but now I wouldn't recommend entering the dungeon without one. It's not because of darkness, it's because of bats. Bats are twice as fast as you and are very aggressive. When they see you, they come at you immediately. They are also numerous, and while fighting off a single one is pretty easy, you will quickly get your ass handed to you when fighting a pack. That is, unless you have a light source equipped. Bats are afraid of bright light and will no longer attack you, instead wandering around and flying away if you hit them. Torch works, and so does lantern. In fact, even setting yourself on fire would scare the bats away if you choose to do so. Thankfully, I am prepared and can explore the dungeon safely. Here you can gather some things you couldn't outside, like liquor for fireball potions, cobwebs and moss. This is also where the new interface is useful in different way, to see which barrels contain booze and which are full of gunpowder. If you decide to fight bats, you can take their wings from the corpses, another raw material for your potions. There is no experience gain in-game for now, and when I add it, it won't be given for killing enemies, but rather for finding knowledge, so the only reason you might want to hunt them rather than avoid is for trophies or to provide yourself safety later. Aside from adding bats that can spawn in every room, but no more than 3, I've improved the dungeon generator by patching some of its quirks, and adding a soft limit of 3 doors per room, since I've got more than one criticism of dungeon having way too many connecting hallways. My friend rightfully compared the previous version to Swiss cheese. So, that was the new update. If you want to see the game to the end of its development, you can subscribe, and I promise that I won't disappoint. You can also tell me if you like what you see, because I really appreciate your encouragement, or tell me your criticism, so that I can make the game better. Next thing I'll be working on is going to be the hub area. It's time for our Alchemist to move into something resembling home, rather than keeping all of his equipment out in the open. Dialogue system and quests will follow. See you next time.